2018 in review and what's to come. Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover all kinds of cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us once again for another episode of the Visionary Variety Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about 2018, some of the best moments, and also some of the worst. We're going to talk about personal moments, movies, things we saw and read, things like that. And like I said, the best, the good stuff too. And after that, what we're looking forward to in the year to come, 2019. I am Daniel Grove. We've also got with us Nate Gunn.
Hey.
And our returning special guest, Joshua Howell.
Hello.
Good to have you on the show again, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for those that are listening this week, PAX South is coming to Texas. So I'm really looking forward to that event. Daniel and I will be attending that event. And recently, Daniel, you just got a new piece of equipment, right?
Yeah, I got 2 new speedlight flashes for my camera. These I will be using at the PAX South photo shoots. So for those of you that aren't aware or not in the loop of what I do at conventions, and Nate comes with me to help as well, I do photo shoots at these conventions. I do basically mini shoots. They're 20 minutes each. Various cosplayers. It's all pre-planned and pre-paid out ahead of time, but it's a lot of fun because I normally have about 10 to 12 photo shoots every 30 minutes. There's a shoot happening. It's really exciting and nonstop like photography. All morning long. So I can't wait to do that. I'm going to be using these new lights I just bought. They were supposed to arrive on Sunday, which is 2 days from now. But because I live about 5 miles away from the Amazon Center on I-35, it got here 2 days early, which is awesome.
What?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to move where you move so I can just order stuff and it'd be there like in 5 minutes. So is your same day delivery like 10 minutes after you purchase?
It actually arrives before I purchase it. It's like a quantum time loop. It's very confusing.
Hurts my head a little bit.
I'm on Amazon Quantum. Yeah. It ships it to you before you order it.
So pretty much the step up from Prime, you're on Quantum. So basically you're just saying forget everybody else.
Is that in beta trial right now? I mean.
That's exciting.
We're trying to run that balance of not destroying the universe and the time continuum and all that stuff. So, no, that's a definite perk from living close to an Amazon Center, and it is pretty nice. Other things coming up with photography for me is in 2 weeks from now, my daughter's school is having career day.
Woo!
And I think my wife heard about it, maybe in an email. She's like, "Hey, they're having a career day. Like, do you want to do that?" I'm thinking, yeah, that would be super cool. So I'm going to get to talk to a bunch of anywhere from kinder all the way up to 4th grade. Going to get to share with them some, inspirational and fun, cool stuff about what photography is professionally, which I think it'll be really cool. And I've printed up a bunch of super cool cosplay photos.
Like, heck yeah, I want to tell them how nerdy I am.
Yeah, they'll say, "Hey, that guy's a nerd, and it's okay."
Guys, nerds rule the world.
That's going to be exciting, and I'm also going to be doing pictures of the kids there for the school, so it'll be a cool little connection. All right, well, what do you say we get into this show tonight? I don't know what time it is. You're listening to this, but yeah, it doesn't matter. 2018 was, for me, it was a good year. There was a lot of struggles, of course. I think you can say that about any year. You're like, man, this year was a hard year. But like, it's like everyone says about every previous year.
Cliche.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
It's like, it just fits the profile of any year. You're like, well, there's some good moments, but there are some bad moments. Well, duh.
Yep.
Me charlatan could have told you that.
No duh, Sherlock.
Let's dive into some of the worst moments first, so we can end this episode on a good note and talk about the best moments. I didn't want to end an episode on the worst stuff. That was just kind of a downer. So, worst stuff. Let's start with books and/or comics. I think I'm the only one that reads books here. Is that accurate?
I mean, I listen to books. I don't read them.
No shame.
I don't know how to read.
Still working on that.
I think it's
2019.
Not many people read books. They listen to them.
True. That's true. I am in that boat as well. I don't actually read books. Please. What do you think it is? 2017? I'm helplessly addicted to audiobooks just because I am subconsciously making up for my childhood, which was squandered by not reading anything at all. Like, I read like 2 books when I was a kid, and it was because I had to for school.
Let's not take offense to your parents. We're sorry if you're listening.
Hey, they tried. They tried really hard. I just was stronger with my resolve to not read books. And I missed out on a lot of great stuff. So I'm kind of living vicariously through myself now, I guess. It's confusing.
Well, I mean, it's not a negative thing. Like if you think about it as a kid, and this to each his own. But there's a lot of stuff I didn't read as a kid, and I read as an adult, and I'm like, whoa, like that. I have so much more knowledge and understanding of what I'm reading than in a kid.
True.
And it's like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah,
but as an adult, you can actually like reason and have logic with what you're reading. You're like, that's insane.
I never was exposed to exciting books to get me hooked on reading. Like other kids were totally into reading because they had books they loved. I guess I never gave it a chance, or no one exposed me to things that even piqued my interest whatsoever. It wasn't until I read Robinson Crusoe, like that was a shipwreck, castaway kind of story, and that was exciting. It was survivalism and just cool stuff, and I was like, whoa! I was like, I'm reading an adventure, and I didn't even know that that was the thing. So
yeah,
that's how clueless I was apparently about reading, and then the Narnia books. But anyway, so let's talk about worst books that I listened to in 2018. Now they're not really bad. Like I'm lucky. I'm pretty picky with what I read. I only like even pick up a book if I know it's got a good reputation, if I read, good reviews. So I don't waste my time on just checking out every single book and I come across a bunch of duds. So these are really like, I'd say 3 stars in my book of books. bad figure speech there. But yeah, so the first one is Blade Runner. So I know sci-fi classic lovers are like, how dare you not like that book because it's such a classic. I'm like, it is. And there's some really cool stuff in that book, but it was just confusing. And there are some weird like twists and unanswered concepts and just nonsensical abstract stuff going on. I just couldn't love it. I couldn't. I tried.
And did you see the movies before you read the book or listened to the book?
I did see the movie only a few years ago, which is ridiculous. And I wasn't really impressed by it. I guess I was expecting more of a modern type of sci-fi where there's like actually action. Blade Runner's really chill. So the book was a different spin, or rather I should say the movie was a different spin on the book because the book came out first. The ending was odd. It was just, I don't know, whatever. Great questions though. Good, what is human life? Am I human? Are you human? Kind of situations pop up a lot in that because replicants are basically human, exact copies of humans. They're replicas. There's that. Second book that I was less than impressed by was A Wrinkle in Time. Again, super classic, probably even more of a classic than Blade Runner. And it was actually, I don't know if it was written by a Christian. I kind of have to believe that just because of the story, which I do like. I like Christian fiction. There is, again, kind of a letdown. I guess maybe I came into this book expecting more because it's such a classic. The ending was a bit of a letdown, just like the other book, but this is a series apparently. So there's 5 books, I think.
Oh my goodness!
Maybe the fact that there's sequels saves it, but maybe I just need to read all the books. I just don't want to take the time to read all the books. It's a big commitment.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wrinkle in Time, and I do want to see the movie, even though I'm pretty confident that it is super cringy. Like the trailer looked awful, but I just want to see the movie so I can say I watched it. There's that, and then the last one of my worst reads of the year was Area X. So this is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy, which is what the movie Annihilation was made after the first book, with Natalie Portman. So this is a sci-fi kind of an abstract suspense story of alien contact and alien existence on Earth. The first book was cool. It was definitely different, but it was beautifully written. The second book was a bit of a bore. It basically follows the guy who takes the place of the leader who dies in the movie in the first book. And, just kind of picks up where the first one left off. I don't know, it's just weird. A lot of conversation. It only takes place in like 2 or 3 different rooms, the whole book, it seems like. And I didn't even finish it, which is rare. I said this before, but I often will finish a book because I have to know how it ends. Even if I don't really care for the book, I'll finish it.
That's dedication.
But this one, I couldn't. I was like, I'm wasting my time with this book. It's like 18 hours long, whatever. I got to get onto other stuff. So I dumped it. And again, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like, oh, this is like awfully written. This is bad material, bad story. It was just, I don't know, multiple little things combined to me not really like ranting and raving about it. Like when I finish a book and I love it, I'll usually like tell people about it or do a post, somewhere, be like, oh, I finished this book. It was so fun. I'm not going to do that with these books.
Yeah.
It didn't wow me. All right, moving on. Next section is movies and TV. Nate, what do you got for us for your worst movies and or worst TV shows?
Let's just put it this way. I saw Venom and I was really I really liked the storyline. But I was very disappointed that we're in 2018 at the time. And visually, Venom doesn't look good. Like it looked
Really?
I mean, if you can I try not to go to movies. I think you're rubbing off on me, Daniel, because I'm starting to go movies now and I'm finding the loopholes and the plot twist and I called it and I'm like, oh, okay. I just got to disconnect.
You're a young single guy. You have no excuse to not go to movies. I have 4 kids.
No, I'm talking about like when you go to the movies, you're like, I called that one, and I'm like, don't ruin it.
Oh, okay.
And like,
so that's rubbing off on you. Okay, good.
I was trying not to go into this movie, seeing it, but man, I really like Tom Hardy did a great job. He's like one of my favorite actors, but visually.
Are you talking CGI, cinematography?
Yeah, no, the cinematography I'm not picking on. It's the CGI of Venom, like the goo coming out of him when they show it in the trailer if you haven't seen it. He punches.
He shoots out of his body.
And it just doesn't look, I was disappointed. That's all. It's not the worst, but I'm just going to pick on that one, saying it's the worst CGI I've seen. At least I know it's not fully Marvel, but still, come on. And when you have things like the Avengers and a couple of the other movies that came out, you have high expectations, and I feel like the high expectations from like the Avengers and stuff blew it out of the water, which is sad because they're introducing a new character to I guess the cinematic for this. I shouldn't say new character. He's not new. He's in the comics all over, and he's been Venom before in the original Spider-Man. But for this era of superhero, he's a newer character coming in.
Well, when you're trying to do an origin story about a character that is so strongly based in Spider-Man, and you don't include Spider-Man in that origin story, it gets kind of messed up. But yeah, if you're thinking, Venom CGI wise, is probably one of the lower end spectrum movies, but
it was good. I liked it, but like you said, not having Spider-Man in there, it was kind of like, Yeah. I didn't know how to feel after I watched the movie.
Then it's Venom. It's also Venom without the Spider-Man symbol on his chest.
Yeah, that threw me off too. And I'm like, okay.
That kind of makes more sense, though. Why would an alien know or care about Spider-Man's insignia on his chest?
That is true.
Right?
Yeah, then I guess the original Spider-Man, like going back.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's on his chest there, because he probably encounters Spider-Man or copies him or something like that. Venom takes over Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I guess that would make sense.
It's convenient for costuming and branding.
Easy for the director and everybody.
And one of the issues for me was symbiote or symbiote.
I don't know. It was so awful.
That's a deal breaker right there.
Yeah, almost.
Symbiote guy.
They got me to watch it because of Tom Hardy. Dude's a monster of an actor.
That's what bummed me out. Like, it's Tom Hardy, and somebody said, you know how we joke around Ryan Reynolds, kind of throwing the punchline, like the puns out there about just don't make the suit animated or green. Somebody put out there that Tom Hardy after that movie is going to go back to DC. I'm like, oh no. But they've already verified that they're going to make a Venom 2. So.
And he's already signed on for it as well.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that he's on the Marvel side, so that's cool.
You're talking about Venom being kind of on your low end of the movie spectrum for 2018. For me, movie-wise, it would have been a movie called Proud Mary, starring it was starring Taraji P. Henson. And so after seeing her in the 2016 movie Hidden Figures, about the NASA space program. I had a whole lot of expectations for her next kind of big role. And it was this movie called Proud Mary, where she's this like female hit woman. And so it's this kind of this action movie, but she takes this kid in somehow. Yeah, it was just bad.
Just the bad gift that kept on giving.
She is good. And my wife and I really enjoy the TV show Empire. I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure or not, but it's good. I mean, we really enjoy it. And so I was kind of expecting more than what I got. And so that movie really let me down. But, talking about jumping to TV real quick, the worst show I think I saw this year was the third season of the TV show Lethal Weapon. They had a casting change after season 2. One of the actors got fired because apparently he was making for an unsafe work environment on set. And so they brought in another actor. And it just, not as the same character, thankfully. He was a new actor, new character to the show, but it just was not the same. My wife and I sat there and watched the first episode and went, yeah, we're done.
I got to interject real quick. You're mentioning like a bad quality show that was just awful right from the get-go. It somehow brought to mind an awful memory that I tried to forget from 2018 was a TV show called Nailed It. Do you guys know about this show?
I never watched it. Everybody said it was awful.
No.
It's basically just making fun of the meme or the pop culture phrase of like nailed it, when actually it's sarcasm. You just totally like failed at something, right? So in this show, they get like 3 average Joe contestants who are not professional bakers or cookers or food artists. And they give them they show them something made by a true professional, like a really ornate, creative cake with a theme or some like cookies with like character faces on them, something like something cool. And all 3 contestants compete to recreate it on their own. And, one of them wins. So that's it. But, oh my God, my wife started watching the show and she watches shows on Netflix, like in the living room and I'm in there editing. So I'm, I got my face in the computer doing my thing. And then I hear like her shows. So I heard this show start and I'm listening to like the first 10 minutes of it. I literally thought it was a comedy sketch making fun of cooking shows. Like I thought it was a really cheesy, like, sarcastic bit, but then it kept going and this woman's voice kept going and shouting and yelling. And I looked over like, what are you watching? What is that thing? She's like, oh, it's this new show called Nailed It.
Nailed it.
Oh my gosh, that's a show? That should not be a show. It was terrible. So cheesy and just cringy.
Oh.
It is entertaining. I have to admit, it's entertaining.
They did 3 seasons.
They did 3 seasons of that?
There are 3 seasons of it according to IMDb.
Oh no.
It's like the good part of it is seeing their fails and seeing people try to make professional quality stuff with non-professional skills and tools. But then the worst part is the host, like the things she says and her trying to be funny. She's like an ADHD child with a really loud voice and it's just too much. It's too much. Could not even.
Daniel's like, I can't even.
How to get that out of my system? I feel better now.
No, so according to IMDb, it's not even been canceled yet. Like it's still not. There's still a possibility of a 4th season.
Oh no.
Okay, this gets a 4th season and Firefly gets freaking canceled? No. The world is not right.
Oh, well, yeah, done. No, I think we can agree on that.
I mean, at least Facebook was nice enough to put Firefly on for live so you didn't have to pay for it for a little bit.
My wife just rewatched Firefly. Just finished it last week. That is the best, most quotable TV show in existence.
Your mouth is talking. You might have to get that look at. 2018, dude. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of TV shows I just unplugged from because it was getting either redundant or, like Daniel said, it was just like, what? How is that a TV show? And it was a lot of like reruns, old movies and movies for me. So yeah, I have really nothing to say about TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like over my wife's shoulder watched a bunch of different shows, but not like devotedly paying attention and from first episode to last.
So you stalk the TV shows.
Yeah. I'm a backseat TV Netflix watcher. Josh, you got anything else for us on your list?
No, really. I could probably go on. Worst TV shows. There's a lot of TV shows that ended up being canceled and rightfully so. There's a TV show Scorpion that just came to mind. Really fun show talking about, the the basis of the show was fun, where you had super intelligent, some somewhat on, some of them were on the spectrum, and they were coming together and actually working with the government to help them kind of solve some of the higher mentally challenging crimes.
Interesting.
And so the basis of the show is really cool. And I start, again, my wife and I started watching it, but then this season, was just weird. And actually it started with last season, one of the guys in a capsule, launching into the, he's going to die because it's being launched into space, and like he jumps out like when it's like almost out of the atmosphere and plummets back to Earth, and they catch him it was just I don't know. It got bad. It got really bad. Like that one it was kind of like you with a bad book, where you just kind of grit your teeth and kind of power through it and still be able to say, hey, at least I finished it. Yeah, my wife and I, we looked at each other and held hands, and we're like, we're going to get through this.
We'll get therapy later, honey.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was just, there were a lot of shows that just were getting just redundant. They had kind of, they had jumped the shark already, and they needed to kind of clear the way for some new shows. And hopefully some fresh ideas as opposed to remakes. No more TV shows from my childhood. We don't need it.
That'd be great.
Murphy Brown didn't need to come back, people, and neither did Roseanne. But
or reboot.
So it's all right. But no, I think those are probably my two worst shows of the year, and probably the worst movie I saw out of the. I was actually kind of surprised. I had an extensive list of movies that I saw this year, and I don't know if I should be happy about that or sad or seek therapy. But good grief. Let's get personal and deep here for a second. What are some things that you're glad are behind you from 2018?
Good way to put that. Things are in the past, are we?
I think for me, going into 2018, I bit off more than I could chew. And I run a videography business, and I do like a ton of events, mostly weddings. And I got pretty buried underneath a lot of my projects. Actually, we're to the point I had to subcontract some people to help. I had to throw a lifeline out because, I'm glad it's like what you said. I'm glad it's behind, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. But yeah, it was not good or healthy, because you shouldn't be saying yes to something and then getting behind on something. And that's was a good lesson, and common sense, but to actually live through it.
Well, now you know how much you can handle, so you just got to keep that in mind. And
I know if I'm going to say yes to multiple things that in the price of a client, I need to be budgeting, editor's fee and all that fun stuff, and not just let it be Nathan's fee in life and time and not enjoying a lot of it, because I got into it because it was a hobby. And I think midway in 2018, I was like, you know what, forget this. And I was like, goodness, I literally dug myself in a hole. And so personally, outside of a business thing, it was, not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so moving to 2019, and for whoever has gone through that kind of stuff, it's like, it's going to be okay, and you're going to get to the other side, and it's only going to suck for a little bit. Just know the next year coming is you're like a new canvas that you can draw on.
Josh, how about you? What are you happy is in the past from last year?
I think the biggest thing for me, and all three of us come from a faith background, church has always been such a huge part of my life. And growing up in the church, you hear stories about people going, I was hurt by the church, or you were hurt by the church, or something like, situations like that. I had never been in a situation like that. I had actually never been in a situation where I personally had to go find a new church. Living, growing up down in Texas, I was 16 years old when my mom and my brother actually found the church that I ended up spending the next 20 years at. And then moving up here to Idaho, having to find a church, it was interesting because I didn't really have to find it, because the family kind of expected us to go to the church that we went to, and then being in a position where I was actually hurt by that. and having to deal with that hurt and having to deal with having to find a new church. And, it was that kind of that struggle of, what am I looking for? I've going from serving in the church and working in the church environment for so long to now I'm not working in a church. How do I become a member? How do I just sit there?
Yeah.
It was a difficult transition for me. My wife had gone through some similar stuff, and so she was a little bit more comfortable with the idea of having to find another church, but I had never done it for myself.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal for me, but thankfully found one that we're really enjoying, a lot closer to the house.
That's great.
And so, I think, I'm definitely glad that that's behind me. Can't wait to see what 2019 brings. So
yeah, it's exciting. We're happy for you for the opportunities you got there.
Yeah. Thanks.
What about you, Daniel?
Well, some of the low points of 2018 was us, my family, being like pretty much broke like continuously ever since like springtime up to like holiday season. We couldn't afford rent, so we had to take out of our savings, which was originally for a house down payment.
Yeah.
And then cars kept breaking. Like earlier in the year, we had a lot of car trouble, and basically like had to use half our savings just to get us like with working vehicles. And then it just kept going downhill. Like I just wasn't making enough for my photography to make up the slack. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she likes it like that, and I like it like that. So I'm not expecting anything like for her to get a job. I would like her to not have to do that. So I take up the slack with my photography, which was not profitable, it turns out. As I examined things and got help from Jim Landers, my business coach, I was just looking at the numbers and the reality and the big picture of, me as a photographer. I was like, this is not a sustainable business model.
Yeah.
And I saw the evidence of it, mid last year. It was awful. I mean, we were down to the hundreds in our safety, like our backup, like emergency fund is what it originally was. And it just wasn't pretty. And sometime in November, I think, someone blessed us with $800 to fix our car, which is amazing. Wow. It was like exactly what we needed, almost did to the dollar. But they didn't know what the problem was. They didn't know how much it cost. But God told them to give us $800, and that's what we needed.
Nice.
So that was really cool. So that's I'm getting up ahead of ourselves. I'm getting to the best moments, but I'll leave that for later. So yeah, car problems, not being able to afford rent, but using our savings and our emergency fund just to pay rent, and the realization that my photography was not charging what I should have been, for my work.
Yeah.
How about we turn things around and start talking about the good moments, the good stuff?
2018, we started the Visionary Variety Podcast. Yeah, and the shenanigans have begun.
Once I figured out how to connect my mic properly, that was good.
Dude, that's hilarious.
So what, do you guys have any favorite podcast episodes?
From the Visionary Variety Podcast?
Yes, from our podcast, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, well, before we did this episode tonight, I went back through the list, just through like the latest half, the most recent half of the episodes. Yeah. And here's some of my favorites. So going backwards in time, the last question, which is episode 43, I loved because it's about one of my very favorite, my number one short story. And I was just glad to get you guys to read it and us to have that deep conversation. It was really fun.
That's the one thing I actually sat down and like visually read and then listened to audio. And that's the one episode I couldn't be on. I was like, I was so prepared.
I love sharing that story and like helping people to learn about it because it's been around forever. It's so short and sweet, but it's so good. And it's like, people have no idea it's out there. And even people that know about Asimov, some people don't know that he wrote that thing. So that was a fun episode. Another fun one was Worst Visual Effects in Cinema, episode 39 with Abby. It was just fun talking about awful computer graphics and practical effects. I enjoy that.
When we had that episode, I felt like I did all the studying too. And then when I sat down and talked to y'all, I was like, apparently I know nothing because like that was a really good
Well, we all research things differently and, look at things differently. So,
but it was just the takes that you and Abby were talking about. I was like, man, like that was a good episode, even though it was the worst visual effects. But dang, that was really good.
The best visual effects one was fun too. That was cool. We got to talk about like actually well done things. The next one I have on my list here is The Technologies of the Future, episode 30. That was really cool. We looked at a list of projected technologies that actually are like literally in the works now and have good promise to being done in, 30 to 40 to 50 years. So that was a cool one. Very, I learned a lot. I learned a lot researching for that episode. And then the last one on my list is What If We Discovered Aliens, episode 29.
My favorite.
There's another topic that's near and dear to my heart is aliens and what the heck would we do if we actually met one. So that was a good one to get some stuff out of my brain and onto paper or onto wave file. I don't know. Into audio. Yeah.
I think some of my favorite would have been a cliche. It would have been the first one that we did.
That was good.
And being able to see like the projection of everything happen from the start that we started the episode to now, and actually living the moments that we talked about or things we wanted to see and then actually happening. Other ones was interacting with other people like Josh and Angela and Abby and
all our special guests we had, Paulina.
Yeah, Paulina and Chris and so many more that we've had, and looking forward to having back. Those were fun.
Yeah, I do love the interview episodes because, I just love hearing people's stories. And like, if I do the same thing as someone like Chris K, he does special effects photography and compositing. I love to hear their story to see how they came to, a similar point where I'm at, but they got there a totally different way. And that just always, it never ceases to amaze me and interest me in how someone got to where they are. Or they do something totally opposite for me. I want to know how that happened too. And it's always so fun to hear their story.
My favorite episode was probably the first one that I was on, which was episode 27. And it was entitled A Great Time to Be a Geek. That one was a lot of fun because...
that was a good one.
I think it actually was a good episode because it really is. I mean, for me, that the title of the episode kind of has summed up 2018 because I mean, the movies and TV shows and books and comic books and just culture itself is kind of going that direction, and it really is a great time to be a geek right now. At the same time, Nate. For the listeners that don't know, Nate is my cousin.
Oh,
what? Spoiler.
Okay.
No, so it also introduced me to Daniel. It was, it's been great to get to know you, and it's always cool to have some really good conversations with people that you have similarities with, but there are still those vast differences and you learn from each other, and you just have good conversations. And so
that's been one thing I don't know if Daniel realizes he does it a lot, but that's been something cool to be a part of. Like Daniel and I will be walking somewhere, at an event or something related to that. And they'll say like the word recording or podcast or listening or something. And that just sparks us both to have a full out conversation. And, it's been fun to be able to connect, like, we're all nerds, geeks, love movies, comics, and so on. But then all of a sudden we also have this new branch of, you listen to podcasts? Oh, really? Which ones? Or interacting on Facebook, what's your favorite podcast to listen to? And then 500 comments later, it's like, what? I didn't know all these were out there. That's so cool. And, you should come hang out and we should, talk more and you should be a guest. And it's led to having, people that we've already had so far. So that's been fun. Being able to connect and meet people has been a really highlight for doing a podcast for almost a year now.
Well, let's move on to the next section of bests from 2018, and that is books, which, again, it's kind of just me for this one.
That's okay. When we do this review next year, I might listen to 1.5 books for you.
Oh, my gosh. I'm giving you goals for 2019.
Kind of like that SpongeBob episode where he has to write an essay and he spends all night just to write the word "the." That would be me.
All right. Well, I'm giving you guys some homework. I'm giving you some goals for 2019. Is to read at least 5 books or listen. Okay.
I'll start in December of 2019.
5, at least 5.
Let's make this achievable. Give me at least 1.
I mean, maybe less than one.
And so Josh's plan is starting in 2019 of December 1st.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no, hurry, cram. So for books that I read, I listened to a lot of books in 2018.
I feel like I listened to books with you because you would listen to them and then I would know the entire story next time I saw you. And it was really
Sorry.
cool. No. Like it was like a shell version of like the entire book. And I was like, whoa. And so
I need to stop doing that because that's why you're not reading books. It's because of me.
Nate's just getting the Clips of Notes version of them.
yeah, I mean, it's like
Right.
with people that have books and then they made movies. It's like, why would I want to read a 29-hour book when I can watch the
When I have
movie in
Daniel.
2 hours?
From about May till the end of the year, I read or listened to about 18 books, and probably about the same amount before that. So lots of audiobooks. It's because I drive so much for my day job. I have this awesome luxury of just brainless travel, especially when Google's telling me where to go. I just listen to stuff a lot. So
Libby.
yeah, I use an app called Libby, which basically is a digital library. Like it connects to my actual local library database. That they have all their audiobooks and their ebooks digitized on the online system, and Libby accesses that database, and I can literally borrow the audiobook or ebook for I think 3 weeks, and then it gets returned, or I can renew my checkout, just like you're going to the library, but you're not going to the library. So I love it, and it's also free. Like there's no money involved. So best reads, it was really hard to narrow it down, but I found that my favorite ones of the year were Phasma, of course, Star Wars book.
Ooh,
It's
yeah.
canon, of course, and it talks about Phasma's origin,
Yeah.
her history, where she came from, and why she is how she is. Even though you only see like 5 minutes total of her on the new movies, which is ridiculous. You guys noticed that she was like really hyped? Like they spent money to advertise her and put her in commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
And like do appearances and things like that to like really boost this like, ooh, this chrome plated, mysterious person. And then she has like a 10-minute super lame moment in episode 7. And then in episode 8, she dies. It's like, wow, that was a letdown.
I laughed so hard, dude. I was like, man, you saw her like what you said. And I was like, wait, she died?
I thought she was going to be the villain like throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I was like,
At
who's
one
going to
point.
be in the next movie?
So, yeah, so Phasma was still a good book. Lots of cool world building and great Star Wars stuff. The next book that I loved was Saturn Run. This is just a one-off standalone novel about basically the space race, but in the 2060s. So we find this artifact out in space. There's all the major world powers are competing to get there. I think there's China involved and America. And I think there's another country trying to get involved, but it's basically those two trying to claim this thing for themselves and get the technology and, get the fame. Great book. It's by John Sanford, if I didn't say that earlier. I really highly advise it. Great, well-researched hard sci-fi. Next one is The Book of Strange New Things by Michelle Faber. This was a fun look into what it would be like if a missionary was sent to a planet to evangelize a recently discovered alien race who is intelligent and sentient and roughly humanoid. So that was a really fun adventure, very personal and gritty, and just a great drama because there's things happening between the guy and his wife back on Earth. They're just separated by light years, and it's just different. And also did a really good justice to Christianity, even though this guy was a Catholic, I believe. Just the spirituality, the use of scripture, the theology, and like I felt like this author was a Christian. They knew these little intricacies and things and mindsets of Christians that, that I hold or that I've seen and observed in other people around me. So really well done. Next book on my list is Sunstorm, and that is a book by Arthur C. Clarke. Just a really cool kind of time travel-y, alternate earthy kind of story with mysterious, powerful aliens. And yeah, it was great. I don't want to spoil it. If I say too much, it'll spoil it. But just know that I like it, and it's written by Arthur C. Clarke, so that means it's pretty darn good. All right, my next book is A Million Suns, which is book 2 of Across the Universe series, and they are by Beth Revis. This is a great sequel. I just love how it picked up, and it's dealing with a generation ship where there's people on there that have been led to believe a certain way of life and a certain understanding of what's happening on the ship and where it's going and what they're supposed to do, but it's all a lie. So it was a really cool kind of a, not conspiracy theory thing, but sort of like that, where there's like lies and then they uncover the truth and it's just like, what? And then what? And then what? It's kind of like that. All right, my next book I listened to that I loved was The Long Utopia by Terry Pratchett. This is book 4 in the Long Earth series. And if I read past book 2 or 3, it's really good. And I'm on book 4, and I cannot wait to get book 5. Like, this series is amazing, and it needs to be an Amazon or Netflix original TV show. Like, literally, that would be so cool. This is about the discovery of alternate Earths, but not in the way you normally think about it. Humans apparently have a technology, and some have a natural ability to shift into alternate Earths next to us. It's kind of hard to explain. Every Earth is different and took a different path through evolution and history. It's super fun. There's some really great characters and lots of cool technology, but it's not super in your face. It's not like, oh, let me explain this fake technology and let's give a bunch of techno jargon. But when there is jargon, when there is technology, it's like, ooh, that's so cool. So definitely check out the Long Earth series, and let's all start a petition for Netflix to make a TV show, because it'll be cooler than Game of Thrones. Just saying. All right, my last book, I promise this is the last one that I'll talk about, is The Old Republic Deceived. This is a Star Wars Old Republic non-canon book. It's awesome. It's super fun. Some really great lightsaber fights, amazing character development, great plot. It's by Paul S. Kemp. Darth Malgus is the protagonist in the story, and there's a Jedi that's on a journey of revenge for her master being killed. He's just really tense. Like, the tension is there, and it's just like, what is going to happen? And I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely check that out if you want to read a good Star Wars non-canon book. All right, so that's enough about me and my fatal addiction to audiobooks. I promise I won't talk about them again. I'll try. Let's talk about the best of movie and TV. Josh, how about you? What did you see last year that really stood out to you?
As far as my favorite, we'll start with the TV show. Favorite TV show, hands down, that I saw was actually an Amazon Prime show, and that was Jack Ryan.
Yes.
I want to see that. It looks so cool.
So good.
That show was hands down the best TV show I saw all year.
Wow. Check that out.
I like the Jack Ryan series. I love the movies. Hunt for Red October is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you want to judge me for that, fine. I accept your judgment, but I don't care. Anyway.
Don't judge.
It's the best movie out there.
The Jack Ryan series has always been one of my favorite series of movies. And then when I saw that they were turning it into a TV show, I was a little worried, but I gave it a shot.
Especially Jim from The Office. I'm like, oh no.
So very good. so very good. I cannot recommend that enough.
I know zero about this Jack Ryan franchise. What is it? Is it like Mission Impossible kind of stuff? Is he a secret agent?
No, kind of, maybe. So Jack Ryan is, his character actually, he works for the CIA. He is a government worker, employee that would not be getting paid right now because of the government shutdown, but that's a side note. Anyway, he's actually an analyst. That's all he is. He's not even like a cool CIA guy out in the field, like James Bond or anything else like that. But
he's an office guy.
Yeah, he's an office guy, and he finds some information that he thinks is important to an investigation, and he just won't let it go. And if that means he has to kind of go around his boss or around supervisors, he will, because he knows he's right. And cool. So if you watch the movies, it goes further. Lots of different actors have portrayed Jack Ryan in the movie series, and he becomes a field agent, but he still is always that analyst. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get somebody that's really diving into, like, we're going to chase down the money, and these are the, here's the way we got here, but then he'll also go out in the field and shoot somebody in the face if he has to. But the TV show really shows that inner struggle on, well, I'm an analyst. I don't want to be out on the field. You want me out in the field, but I don't want to be there. And then it's, how does he juggle a personal life that he can't tell somebody that he works for the CIA? So it's just a really good TV show. I can't wait for season 2.
I've seen nothing but good stuff about it, so I'm glad you kind of reminded me about that. Maybe we'll check it out.
Yeah, I know that one's super good. As far as movies go, I didn't have just one. I couldn't just narrow it down to the best movie I saw. So
That's okay.
So I've got kind of a list, but I think the overall best movie that I saw as far as story and the acting and how it made me feel was probably Bohemian Rhapsody with Rami Malek. It's hard for me to put it into words because it was such an amazing story.
Is that a tear trickling down your cheek as you speak?
Maybe just a little. But funny enough, talking about tears, the one that really and it's on my list as one of the best movies I saw. The one that kind of got me right in the feels was Christopher Robin.
Oh, really?
Christopher Robin was just a beautiful story. And growing up, my toy growing up as a kid was Winnie the Pooh, so I already had that emotional connection. And then just to see this, it was just really good. And being a dad of a daughter, it just hit me in, like I said, it hit me in all the feels. But A Quiet Place is definitely on my list of top movies. Yeah. Creed 2 is on the list of my top movies, and I didn't think it would be. I was actually very, very reluctant to see that movie. Up here, we've got some dollar theaters, and so actually my wife and I went and saw it the other day, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind, but that's how reluctant I was to see it, because I didn't want to just see yet another remake of a Rocky movie, essentially.
Does he win in this movie? Does he actually win this time?
Well, yes. I think this telling of the Creed Drago story is probably better than the original Rocky movie that involved those two characters.
Whoa.
Well, Creed 1 was great. I mean, I loved Creed.
Yeah, the first one was fantastic. It's hard for the sequel to be as good or even better than the original, and I think this one is definitely on pace to be as good, if not a little bit better than the first one.
Nice.
And then, of course, I mean, it's a popular movie for everybody. This last year was Black Panther.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Yes.
I think Black Panther is probably the best Marvel movie that we had last year.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where Marvel goes from there. It's going to be hard to match.
We watched Black Panther last year with Daniel, and so it was my dad, me, Daniel.
That was fun.
Opening scene, the drums come in, and he goes, those drums. And I feel like I pick on you a lot, but it's actually quite fun watching movies with you.
Pick on me all you want. I don't care. I ain't mad. I have a special love-hate relationship with movies. It's mostly love. There's a little bit of fun hate, lighthearted hate, even with the best movies. If any of our listeners out there love drums and like soundtrack stuff, listen to the Black Panther episode, because I made a sweet intro and outro song for that episode. I'm really proud of it. It was really fun. It's very tribal. Makes you want to dance. It was cool.
Dude, so many people have asked me in the past, they're like, hey, where do you get your intro music, outro music? And I was like, oh, it's been made. And they're like, wait, you made it? I was like, no, my friend Daniel made it. And they're like, what? I thought the photographer? And I was like, please don't get me started. The dude wears too many hats already. Okay?
It's complicated.
Apparently he has an spreadsheet for his books. Okay? So we just...
I need help, y'all. I'm just way too nerdy.
Daniel, what about you?
Well, I'll start off with my one TV show I have on my list, which is weird. Because like I said, my wife watched probably 7 or 8 shows last year that I, kind of co-watched off and on. One of them is Outlander. Outlander is a great, well-made series. I think it's on Stars. Yeah, which we literally pay for Stars just to watch Outlander.
I've heard that's good. My sister swears by that show. She tells me that I need to watch it.
It is great. It's a historical, speculative show with a dab of time travel, but it's not sci-fi. It's like fantasy time travel. It's really different. But man, they put a lot of money and a lot of attention into the costuming, the locations. Like they have research teams make sure that every prop in the scene is historically accurate. And I love that. I really appreciate that kind of work.
That's cool.
At the end of every episode, there's like a mini like a sit down chat with the directors and the costume designers and stuff, and they talk about like funny things that happened and like interesting tidbits of stuff that they learned or had to deal with. I loved that look. Like I love to lose myself in a story, but then I also love to appreciate the artistry that made it that good, and they do that really well. So that was not on my list, Outlander, but I just put it there right now. What is on my list is Mr. Robot. That was a fun show about hacking and just living, kind of in the underground world, doing things. He gets tied up with this group of hackers and hacktivists, things like that. Season 2 was weird. I did not like that twist in season 2, but season 1 was really cool. Yeah. So as far as movies, I've got Infinity War, of course. I mean, hit me right in the feels at the end, and all the way through it was just like this eyeball exploding, just oversaturated action-packed scene of awesomeness. Great movie though. Well done. Of course, I've got Black Panther. That was great. Very unique and purposeful movie that like I said in the episode, again, go back and listen to that episode about Black Panther if you haven't already, because that's also one of my favorites that I did mention earlier. Because I feel like the Black Panther movie was important historically and culturally, because I feel like it achieved a lot of important things that needed to be said, did a lot of things that needed to be done for, racial issues as well as gender issues. So cool movie. Loved it all the way through.
Oh, for sure.
Next is Ready Player One. It was a very fun movie. It was a slight adaptation of the book. There's some changes. They weren't major. We did an episode about that as well. And yeah, just amazing graphics, amazing action. I love the pacing of the movie. It was great. I've got A Quiet Place just because it was so different and so well done. The cinematography, the sound design, of course, was really purposeful and really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I just enjoyed that movie. And then last, I've got Solo, A Star Wars Story. Awesome.
Yes.
So it's like my number 2 Star Wars movie. And you're probably asking, what's your number 1, Daniel? My number 1 is the original trilogy as one movie. I can't pick which one, but I love Solo that much. It's awesome.
I would totally agree with you as far as A Quiet Place, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's on my list is the sound editing for the movie, at how, especially right there at the beginning, that first half of the movie, all you hear is like them breathing or the footsteps on the rocks, and like there's it just the sound engineers for that movie were amazing. And it's such a different type of story.
You can't help but be interested because it's just so different. There's no movies like that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because they've already announced A Quiet Place 2.
What?
So they're doing a sequel to it, and
Sweet.
so I don't remember when that's slated to come out, but I'm worried and curious all at the same time.
Are they going to name it? Here's the big question: are they going to name it A Quieter Place or A Less Quiet Place?
Ooh.
Decisions.
I would be okay with that.
Here's my prediction. All right. Classic Daniel move here. A classic Danielism. I'm going to predict the future, especially when it comes to movies. They're going to kick the aliens out with loud multi-frequency sounds, and then they're going to have the rock concert of the decade. Wait, millennia. They just have a crazy rock and roll concert across the whole planet. They're going to party up and dance like wild savages because the aliens are gone.
Didn't they do that in the second Matrix movie?
Yeah, they did. A sweaty cave rave. Nasty.
The movie that killed the franchise.
That song was pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right. So, Nate, what about you?
Probably for me, the 2018, right at the very end, would have been the Mary Poppins Returns. I thought they did a really, really, really good job of capturing the continuation of what Mary Poppins, if they continued it way back in the day, would have been. And I was like, that was...
So it is a sequel, not a reboot?
Yeah, it's a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a sequel. So the children from the first movie are now the adults in this one, correct?
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. And she hasn't aged yet because she's a witch from Hogwarts.
Yes. That carries around a TARDIS because her purse is bigger on the inside.
It is. That's right. TARDIS purse.
But they did a really good job making it a sequel. And being in 2018 at the time, having all the visual effects that we wish we would have had in the first one, and being able to see all the different, dimensions and atmospheres and stuff was really, really, really cool. Almost too trippy, and made her more loving, but she was allowed to be more of what people call her, a witch. And in the movies, in the first one, she was more of just a Mary Sue, knew how to do everything. In this one, she was actually able to take children to other dimensions like she did in the first one, but in more of a fun kid way of excitement that was really well done.
Do they cross paths with Doctor Strange, or that'd be cool?
That would be funny.
In passing, hey, just passing through this dimension, don't mind us.
For the 2018 Black Panther, for me, that was a great movie. The sound design, the visuals, the story, it was new taste.
Costuming, wow.
Dude, it was like everything was fresh. Another one that came out in 2018 would have been Mission Impossible Fallout. I just feel like Tom Cruise is never aged. And
it's the power of Scientology.
Yeah, now he's making Top Gun 2, and they want to make another Mission Impossible. And I'm like, dang, dude, like Solo, I thought it was great. Everybody else, like I said, I can't believe they trashed it, which just makes me sad.
Yeah, every time I hear something bad about Solo, I'm like, but did you actually see the movie? Are we talking about the same movie? Because it was great.
So yeah, at least for movies, that's my favorite. Nothing really, again, with the TV shows. 2018 was not heavily full with TV shows for me. So, I did watch Friends all 10 seasons twice. So, wow.
In 1 year?
Wait, 10 seasons, you watch it completely through twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing it here now. Nate is no longer my cousin. I can honestly say I have yet to ever watch a full episode of Friends.
Well, according to Netflix, they're going to be taking it off for free next year. So
okay.
There's still a chance, Josh. You can still live the greatest life you've ever had. All right, so again, we're going to get a little personal here, but this is good personal because we're going to talk about good times, happy places. So what are some of the best things that happened to you guys in 2018?
So some of the best things that happened to me this year, I think the one thing that probably hit me the hardest. So a little background on me for the listeners. I am currently married to an amazing woman of nearly 5 years, but she is my second wife. I do have a daughter that still lives with her mom in Texas, and we have a great relationship. I see her as much as humanly possible, but it is hard. It's hard being in a completely separate state from your child. And it was hard on her when my wife and I moved up to Idaho. She took that very hard. She was angry for a long time, but around Christmas time, actually, so this just recently happened. So it's probably the best Christmas gift I got was my daughter telling my wife and I that she knows that we're in Idaho and that's where we need to be. This is our best life that we've had together in 5 years. This is, she says, hearing my daughter say that this is the best and the happiest that she's seen me. And so hearing that from my daughter was pretty awesome, and it showed her maturity level. Because she is 13 now, so it was good. It was really good. That was great. My wife, one of the big reasons why she and I had moved up here was my wife's health. While we were living down in Austin, actually down there in Texas, we found out that she had 2 brain tumors that were causing some issues, benign. So the doctors don't think she doesn't need to go in for surgery to have them removed or anything. But they were causing some health issues and some seizures. She has been seizure-free for now. This past September marked a year that she's been seizure-free.
That's great.
And so, it's been a good year. I think 2018 has definitely been personally and my personal life, financial life, work life, church. It was struggles, but overall, I think 2018 has been my best year. And I'm hoping and praying that 2019 only gets better. So there's a little bit of behind the curtain in the life of Josh. Daniel, Nate, one of y'all?
I'm not crying. You're crying. I'm sure.
I have no curtain. I'm a man of no curtains.
Whoa.
I feel sorry for your neighbors.
We we had another kid last year. Well, I mean, we only had one kid last year, but another kid total. You know, it's weird. I don't know how to word that. Our fourth child was born in 2018 there.
An additional human was added to this family.
Yes, yet another. So we got 4 kids now. And some people say, wow, you must really love kids. I'm like, no, I just really love my wife. So that was Judea Melody was born September 23rd, and she was born at home, which was great. We've tried to have our other kids at home, and it just didn't work. So we finally had a kid at home, and that was a nice experience. It went really great. We had a midwife and a doula and a birth tub. Yes, we're full on hippies in that respect. And it was an awesome birth. Next thing that happened great last year was redoing my business. It was actually a mix. It was a mix of really challenging mindset shifts and coming to terms with the fact that I have been undercharging and I need to up my prices and change how I look at things. But the profit made it good. When I switched, I did my first shoot under my new business model in late November. And the profit of that photo shoot was 3 to 4 times as much as my highest package with my previous business model. And it was just a great experience. So that just kind of sealed the deal. I'm like, okay, like I'm not crazy. All the stuff's worth it. I need to stick with this because this is what I need. It's what my art deserves, and it's what my family needs. So that was great. Really finally making that switch to making my business realistic and profitable. Another highlight was being invited to speak at Photo SA. It's a local group of photographers that meet every month, and there's someone selected by the team to speak about whatever their specialty is or whatever their passion is. So I did that. And then another thing was being featured on 60-Second Docs. That was super exciting. That's a social media production company, I guess you can call it, that makes videos that go viral, and they cover interesting people around the world that have different creative outlets, businesses that have done good things for people. So they did a little 60-second doc about my cosplay photography, which as of today has currently at 552,000 views after about 2 weeks time.
Wow.
Actually, exactly today. This is the second Friday. Yeah. So 2 weeks time, and it's 500,000 vieus. That's incredible.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us little people now that you're a celebrity.
I told Daniel, I said, wow. I said, I know you had a documentary of you, a couple years ago, and then you have another one. I think you're my only friend that only has one, but 2 documentaries. All my other friends have high standards to live by now.
Looking for friends with documentaries made about themselves. No, it's humbling. I didn't make the first one. My friend made it of me for her college project, and that was it's on my YouTube channel. Actually, you can look it up. It's called Creating Fantasy. That was a really fun project to be a part of. And then my last highlight of last year was getting my car fixed because it was leaking steering fluid so fast that we had to fill up the steering fluid about every 2 to 3 days. And in the end, That's how bad it got worse and worse because the seal was wearing thin or whatever, wearing out. So it was really bad at the end and really messy. There was fluid everywhere, and someone paid to fix it, and that was just a blessing. It was super great. Nate, what's some highlights of your year?
A lot of connections in 2018, a lot of rebuilding, a lot of not only personal relationships, but also personal life stuff. Of course, getting out of the personal life stuff and throwing comments into the business, just rethinking and reorganizing a lot of stuff and knowing what I can and cannot do has been kind of humbling and kind of like, oh, well, like I said earlier, just biting off more than you can chew. So knowing and coming to terms with that has kind of been an eye-opener in a good way and kind of like, well, it is what it is, and moving forward, it's just going to be better. So that's been really good in a positive way. What else did I do in 2018? Over here asking me about what I did in a week. Let me just tell you what I did in a year. One thing I've been looking forward to every year is my family, thanks to Daniel, has been able to make not just the cookie cutter Christmas cards. No offense to anybody that takes cookie cutter Christmas cards. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to offend you, but
We love viewing your basic photos.
It came to a time.
I'm going to intervene real quick. If you have not seen these family Christmas cards and these pictures, they are goals. Like everybody should strive to have photos like these done. And if you are doing the cookie cutter Christmas cards, lots and lots of shade being thrown at you right now.
You are being judged.
I'm not even doing family photos because of these.
You just quit.
I just quit. Like I'm out.
Hey, you could always fly Daniel and I over there.
Oh, hey, you know what? Bring it. We'll do a podcast from here. I'm as long as the Gunn family and Daniel is their photographer, like you might as well just go ahead and stop because you've already lost the game.
If anyone's curious, if you want to see these pictures, just type in Daniel Grove Wild West in Google, and the first search result is that. You'll see it.
Well, we're gonna
continue.
2018 was a lot of fun, like connecting with family and running the thrift shops and Goodwills and good deals.
Did we finally do a wedding together?
Yeah, we did that's, funny enough. You were like, let's do a wedding together. And then we did a wedding together.
It's about
and
time.
then on the road trip, you were like, oh, so our fourth child. Oh yeah, by the way, we're having another kid. I'm like, what?
So this brings us to 2019. So let's talk about some things we're looking forward to, on the surface level of just like entertainment stuff, but also personal, like some goals, some things you're hoping to improve on or continue, just some things that are going to make your year great. So for me, some personal goals of my own is I need to get in shape physically. I have just let myself go as far as, weight gaining and stuff for the past just few years. I haven't been active like I used to be. And yeah, I need to lose some weight just for my own health. I was listening to a book the other day and it's talking about how our body is a vehicle for, who we really are, our soul, our spirit. And you only get one body and your body is a tool. And I realized, my body has been limiting me lately because of my health and just aches and pains and things like that. For what I want to do in my life. And I need to fix that because it's my body. Gosh darn it. I need to take it back. So I need to do something. I need to find a gym or some kind of a kickboxing, karate class, something to get active again. Yeah, and a chiropractor. I need that too. And a masseuse. I need to get back in shape physically. That's one of my goals for this year. Also spiritually, I've just let myself get so busy with my creative stuff that I have just neglected my spiritual life quite a bit. So I am on the road already to getting back into the Word, getting prayer back into my regular daily routine, and just kind of rebuilding that faith and that relationship with God that is the core of who a Christian is. If you don't have that, then what are you? And I just really need to get that relationship back to an intimate level and on a daily basis. And then professionally, I'm hoping to continue this momentum of my photography business. Has really been excelling since last November. Like I said earlier, lots of profit, lots of changes, and just really switching things up in how I run my business and what I offer. So I'm hoping to improve on my professionalism and just offer some really great services to my clients. What I do is not for everyone, but for those who it is for, I want to just blow their socks off and really serve them and give them some one-of-a-kind photos. So,
we can overcomplicate it. We can say, I'm going to do this, that, this. And then by the end of the year, you're like, well, I've done two. So this year, moving forward, there's been a lot of big things that are on the table that I've been thinking and praying about. And, but one of the things I should have done last year and bit the bullet was plugging back into, not only school, but something I've been wanting to do since I was a kid. And I just allowed not so much fear of height or fear of what people say, but fear of, I guess, internally and like self-view, and go plug myself into pilot school. I've been really wanting to do that since I was a kid, and I've just allowed myself to get, ashamed and belittle it. And so one thing looking forward for a set goal would be something like that. I don't know the outcome, and it'll take baby steps to get to. As far as that's personal, but business, kind of echoing off what Daniel was saying, is just how can I better a craft that I've made a job? And, like Daniel was saying, not everything I do will be for everybody, but the connections and the clients that I do get, I want it not to only just be, hey, here you go, here's your product, but hey, here you go, thanks for the experience and thanks for letting us build that bridge and, making friends along the way and all that fun stuff. And just bettering myself in the industry of, hey, not every event you're going to be at is going to be perfect. And just getting that through my mind that it's okay not to be a perfectionist, just be good at what you do. And yeah, so in personal, I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about personal things of what I would like to do in 2019. But, just for the sake of time and for the sake of just reality, it's always best to focus on the one. And if you can focus on grabbing the head of the horse and directing it, the other ones will follow. So 2019, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and that's the biggest thing is we made it through, and that's something that phrase is what my wife and I kind of live by, especially with her health issues. My past, with divorce and other issues. We've made it through. Yeah, we've come up up against these bumps in the road or these mountains that we've had to climb, but we've always made it through that problem. We've always made it through that obstacle. Yeah. As long as you're making it through, yes, you're having to deal with stuff, but you're making it through. You're not allowing any of it to stop you. And that's kind of my personal goal for 2019. Well, goals plural, is just to continue to live by that motto. Is, this may stop some people. I'm going to push through. I'm getting through this. Daniel, you have a personal goal that I think a lot of people have, including myself, and that, that's to get a little bit better shape, maybe a little bit healthier. That's coming into the new year. That's 90%, 95% of the population gets a gym membership. And then all of a sudden, now we're almost halfway through the first month of the year. I'm sure majority of those people have already stopped going to the gym.
But now it's a great time to get a membership.
Which now is the time to get it because, you don't have to worry about a ton of people being there. But yeah, I mean, so getting healthier, is definitely one of my personal goals. Continuing the momentum that my wife and I had for 2018, that forward momentum that we finally got going. Just making sure that keeps going. I think, again, especially with our faith-based upbringings, that is always something that we always need to work on, is making sure our faith and our relationships are where they should be. If they're not, always strive for that goal, is to just make it better. I mean, that should be the goal for everybody, is just, I'm going to wake up today and I'm just going to be better than I was yesterday. And I think if more people had that goal, the world would be a better place. So yeah, I mean, those are a few of my goals, just kind of dovetail off of what y'all have been saying, and kind of tie in with Nate. I mean, just, you may have had some personal things come up, but you've been through it. So just keep going.
Before we end this show, I do want to go over real quick some upcoming movies and stuff that we are hopefully going to be reviewing in this podcast, because these are some big movies coming out this year.
So much.
And I'm super stoked. So first one, we're going to start off with Infinity Wars Endgame. Can't wait.
I don't want to see that.
Oh my gosh, who are you? Do you even live?
I do, but I also don't want to cry.
Well, you've got some time to emotionally prepare yourself.
Yeah, psych yourself up. And then there's Captain Marvel. And this is not in release order. I don't know what the order is, honestly. I'm just too lazy. Hopefully we see the actress learn to make some facial expressions, because I don't know if you noticed in that trailer, she has one straight face the whole time. There's no facial expressions.
I thought I was the only one that realized that.
It's like, do you act in this movie, or like you just walk around and look cool? Next is Star Wars Episode 9, the closeout of the trilogy of trilogies.
Lord help us.
And I know for a fact we're not going to find out any answers to any of the questions we have.
No.
I'm personally looking forward to How to Train Your Dragon, the third movie. It's coming out in April. Because I just love those movies. They're so good.
There better not be any children in the theater when I go see that. It's kind of like Incredibles 2. Like, we've been waiting too long for that. Kids are not allowed.
Yeah, just let the parents watch this one first. Hellboy's coming out. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. I love the first two of the previous. This is a total remake and reboot, of course. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Men in Black with the Asgardians. I should just call it Asgardians in Black because that's what it is. Which would make sense. That the Marvel could tie in Men in Black. They could easily be in the same universe. Putting it out there, Marvel. You're welcome. You can pay me royalties later. Toy Story number 4 is coming out. Oh my goodness. And Lion King. And I've got a long list of books I want to read. I'm not even going to say them here because it's just too long.
Why am I not surprised at the end of our notes? This says books for Daniel to read.
And there's no books for you.
My goal is just to add one to my spreadsheet.
One book. Your first entry. Yeah, my spreadsheet's growing by the month. It's exciting. It's a good feeling.
Because we got super sidetracked. You know, one of the worst things from 2018 is like the ultimate worst thing.
That you didn't read any books?
No, okay. Besides Daniel's opinion.
Besides that, what?
The absolute worst thing in America was Taco Bell being listed the #1 Mexican restaurant in America.
No. Were the majority of voters in the north of America? Because
they had to have been. They had to have had all 15 people that actually live in North Dakota vote. Because
they all voted.
It made me weep.
All right. Well, I think that's the end of this episode. Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We would love to hear about what some of your high points were for last year and what you're hoping to accomplish this year. You can write us on our Facebook account, our Instagram account, our YouTube account, or you can email us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week.
If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so that you won't miss any of the future episodes. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you've got any comments or suggestions for a future episode, you can always reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again and have a great week.
2018 has definitely been a brain fart for me in a lot of ways. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Really long fart.
It's like a year-long fart, basically. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Wow. Is that what that smells?
Wow. A year long? Jeez. Dude, you need to get that checked